Hey friends, Elizabeth here, and I know I relatively recently made a little free library video, but I've had it stuck in my head for months now that I should do something a little fun and special for my neighborhood for the holiday season and end of the year, and I couldn't get it out of my head. So I'm doing it. And I'm really excited about it, if you couldn't tell. Basically, I just want to celebrate the holiday season and, send out the year with a bang with my community and show my gratitude to them for not only all the amazing donations I've received since building and installing my little free library, but also just for all the love and use my little free library is getting. It brings me so much joy seeing so many different people use the little free library every single day. I get to see people who have clearly gone out of their way to come visit the little free library. I get to see kids with their grandparents and teenage couples holding hands as they flip through the offerings to young adults and more. And it just makes me so giddy and excited to share my love of literature with my neighborhood. And I have not once had my little free library cleared out or messed up or left in disarray. Sometimes it gets a little messy as people take things out and put them back in. That's totally fine. But people have been not only using it so much and donating and giving back, but they've also been treating it with care and respect. And that just makes my heart happy. So I really wanted to do something special for them this holiday season. And I wanted to take you along with me. So my plan to gussy up my little free library for the holidays. First of all, I got a little carried away and bought a lot of books during Black Friday sales so I could stock my little free library completely with awesome brand new releases for all age groups that would hopefully be exciting and appealing and in demand for my neighborhood. So I have a bunch of new books and I want to clear it out and fill it completely with some of these new amazing books that I got my hands on during Black Friday. But I also had this idea in the back of my mind that it would be kind of really cute and kind of really fun if I wrapped some of the books so you can't see which book it is and just write a couple little hints or themes or feelings that the books evoke or who I think the book might be good for on the wrapping and treat it as a bit of a bookish blind date so that my community can go through and pick the one that feels like maybe it's best suited for them and then unwrap a book and have a surprise and maybe come across something they wouldn't have read otherwise. So I'm really excited about that. I'm not going to wrap every single book because I'm sure there are some people in my community who won't be into that and I want them to still have some options that they can actually see what book it is and pick what they want. But I feel like some people are going to like the mystery and the surprise and the anticipation of a bookish blind date. So my plan is to fill the bottom bigger shelf with just regular books that people can peruse and pick out themselves and put some wrapped blind date books on the top smaller shelf for people who want to participate and have a little bit of fun. It's like I'm my community's Secret Santa. But that's not enough for me. I wanted to do more. So I'm also going to be putting together some little starter annotation kits for anyone who might want to get into annotating the books they read. So I've purchased some of my go-to most used supplies and some little pencil cases, and I'm going to build some basic starter annotation kits and put them in there for people to take home and use and hopefully find as much joy annotating and analyzing the books they read as I do. So I'm really excited about that. My little free library is, as the name would imply, quite little. So I definitely don't have a huge amount of space to put annotation kits and bookish blind dates in there. So I'll probably just put a couple in at a time. And then every day or two, I'll go out and restock so that hopefully anyone who wants them can get them. But as excited as I am for all the new books I got and for the bookish blind dates, I think I'm most excited for my little annotation kits. I feel like they're going to be more niche. Not everyone is into annotating, but for the ones that are, I feel like they're going to be really excited. I would be so excited if I were a teenager and my local little free library had tiny little starter annotation kits. But I've always loved stationery and books, so that's not a surprise. So those are my plans for my little free library. Can you tell I'm excited? I'm very excited. So I'm going to take you along with me as I get all this ready and give my little free library a little end of year holiday refresh, and hopefully my community and my neighbors are as excited about these little updates and surprises as I am, because I'll be really sad if no one takes an annotation kit or a bookish blind date. Now, I've had this idea for literal months. I've been anticipating getting to do this project, and I had scheduled in my calendar to start a week ago. And then I woke up a week ago and I felt absolutely terrible. I was getting sick. I could feel it. I had the pressure in the front of my face. You know what that feels like. I had a lot of brain fog. I was super tired. But luckily, I had just received a new package of Magic Mind in the mail. So I decided to take a shot every single day to give myself a little bit more energy because I was definitely working in a deficit, help me feel a little bit better, and also help me recover a little bit easier. And I really feel like it's made such a big difference in the last week. I feel like I got through the harsh points, the really sick days a lot faster than usual, and I'm feeling so much better a week later. I love the taste of these shots so much. Not only do I have to fight my husband for the final bottle on a regular basis, but I also have to remind myself that I'm only supposed to take one a day and not just keep drinking them all day simply because they're delicious. But even though they taste amazing, what I love the most about Magic Mind is how it makes me feel. I am someone who gets anxious and stressed very easily, and I also deal with somewhat regular brain fog and distractibility. So having Magic Mind in my tool belt to help give me that kick of productivity and focus and calm that I need to actually get stuff done is indispensable. Magic Mind is a daily performance shot, something that you add into your day-to-day routine to help get you to your most productive, mentally clear, focused, and energetic without the stress. Magic Mind isn't a coffee replacement. They're more like daily vitamins for your mind. And an extra bonus, if you are a coffee drinker, the L-theanine in Magic Mind can help the effects of your daily cup of coffee last all day long. Also, as an extra bonus, each bottle has 100% of your daily vitamin C and vitamin D, which is super useful here in Canada in the winter because we get very little sunlight. Magic Mind is 100% safe. All their ingredients are third-party tested and sourced from the absolute best suppliers, and the formula was developed under an advisory board of doctors and medical researchers. While I feel like I get an immediate positive effect when I take a Magic Mind shot, I feel more energetic, more focused right away. There are also ingredients in there that take 3 to 4 days to reach their full effect, which is why it's really best to take your Magic Mind every single day as part of your daily routine so you can reap all the rewards of a calm, focused, and productive brain. Because Magic Mind isn't heavy on the caffeine, it won't affect your sleep at night, which means you'll wake up tomorrow feeling more rested and alert. They're also 100% carbon neutral, which is amazing. There's no risk trying Magic Mind. They're so confident in their product that they will give you a 100% refund within 100 days if it doesn't work for you. They also ship internationally to 65 countries. Because Magic Mind is sponsoring this video, they have given me a great deal to pass on to you. Click the link in my description box and use my code PBB20 to get 48% off your first subscription in the next 10 days or 20% off a one-time purchase. Thank you again to Magic Mind for sponsoring this video. I am so glad my shipment came in at just the right time. I really needed it this week. So first things first, I kind of want to do a super quick book haul where I show you all the books that I got for the little free library. And maybe as I go through, I'll try to determine which ones might make good blind dates versus which ones I might leave unwrapped for people to peruse. So like I said, I got a little carried away during Black Friday sales this year. Luckily, Book Outlet has amazing prices, especially during Black Friday, so it didn't totally break the bank, but I got a little carried away. And as per usual, it's sort of a mix of books that I've read and think that other people might enjoy, and books that I haven't tried myself, but I've heard good things about or I'm intrigued by, so I want to add them in there as an option. And sometimes I pick books that weren't necessarily my personal cup of tea, but I'm sure they'll appeal to a lot of people who are less picky than me. So sometimes I get those too. Also, I try to do a good job of getting a wide range for age demographics, from babies and little kids all the way through to teenagers and adults, to try to have options for everybody. Because I feel like I get a huge amount of books aimed at maybe 5 to 7-year-olds and a bunch of adult books and very little in all the other areas in between. So I really tried to get sort of an even spread as much as I could. I have Zara, Guardians of Dawn. I have not read this, but it is a YA fantasy. The cover looks amazing and the blurb sounded interesting. Another YA I haven't read yet, Where Sleeping Girls Lie. I'm really curious about this one. I've heard mixed things, but I'm intrigued. So I thought this one might be fun. It sort of has a dark academia vibe, which I feel like it's very popular still. Bookshops and Bone Dust. This is the prequel to Legends and Lattes. I think I've purchased 2 different copies of Legends and Lattes over the last couple of years to put in my little free library, and those have both been taken by somebody, so hopefully that means people enjoyed them. So maybe those people would also want to read the prequel. I actually have started the prequel, but I haven't finished it yet, so I can't give a full review. Then I have Pet. This is a middle grade. I read this a couple years ago and thought it was absolutely gorgeous. It's so well done. I almost want to keep this copy just because I really loved this book, but I'm going to put it in the little free library so someone else can read it. It definitely explores some darker subject matter, but it is aimed at a middle grade audience, and it's really good. A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. I loved this. This is the prequel for Priory of the Orange Tree, and it's massive, even in this paperback edition. Adult fantasy, sapphic representation. I feel like somebody is going to be really excited to read this. So then I have She is a Haunting. I read this earlier this year and really loved it. It's YA horror, but it also would appeal to adults, I think. So this one I think is going to be a really good option. I might make this one a bookish blind date because I feel like I could come up with some interesting descriptions that would be enticing for people to pick it up. Then I have Be Sure by Shauna McGuire. This is the first 3 books in the Wayward Children series, which is, I guess, technically a middle grade series, maybe bridging the gap between middle grade and YA, but I love the idea of someone being able to read the first 3 books in the series and really get hooked, and then to get excited to discover that there are many more books in the series that they can go explore. Then I have Inside Out and Back Again. This is another middle grade. I think I read this last year. This is Backlist. It's an older book, but it's absolutely lovely and definitely worth the read. So gonna put that in there. Okay, then I have a couple more middle grade that I have not read, but they seemed like they would be good. So I'm just kind of, trusting the process here. I got The Swifts, A Dictionary of Scoundrels. This one was actually recommended by one of my Instagram followers. I also saw this one, which I thought was really cute, Aliens on Vacation. It seems like the kind of thing that I would have had fun reading when I was a kid. It also has really hilarious illustrations at the start of every chapter. I also thought this might be a good pick that might be more appealing to the boys in my neighborhood. I feel like I tend to read books that have female protagonists, whatever age range they're aimed at, and maybe have more girly qualities to them. I don't know. So I thought this one might be fun. It might appeal to little boys who maybe are in a stage where they don't want to read girly things, even though I do hope they'll also read books with female protagonists, because obviously that's a great way to gain empathy for people who are different from you. And then I also saw this one, The Girl Who Drank the Moon. I've heard about this one. I've heard multiple people talk about this one as a great option for the middle grade age range. The cover is really cute. I'm honestly tempted to read it first, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to put it in the little free library. So I also have this one, The Vanquishers, and this is by an author I've actually read from before, but the book I read from her was a YA horror, and this is, I think, middle grade. But this one seemed like a really fun, adventurous vampire story that might be a little fun and different from the other middle grade options I have, so I grabbed that. I also grabbed this YA book, And Other Mistakes. This is another one that was recommended by one of my Instagram followers, and it definitely seems like a more serious offering, and it's contemporary, which is nice because I do also have a tendency to grab fantasy and horror and sci-fi, more genre fiction because I read so much genre fiction, but I feel like some kids are going to be more into contemporary, so it's nice to have some options. Speaking of contemporary, this is a romance, but it is contemporary romance, Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. I read this, I think, last year and thought it was adorable. It's YA. I think I gave it 4 stars. Very cute. So I'm excited to put this in there. I think teenagers are going to love this. And this might be one that would be fun to do as a book date because there are lots of fun little quirky details about this that I could hint at. I also tried to pick up books that were as diverse as possible. I'm really trying to cast a wide net and appeal to a wider audience of my neighbors, but also introduce my neighborhood to more diverse stories because I live in a pretty homogenous area, I would say, and I think it's always good to read about different people's lived experiences, So speaking of that, A Restless Truth, this is an adult historical fantasy romance. It's part of a trilogy, the Last Binding trilogy, which I love, and all 3 books are queer. The first book and the last book are both romances between 2 men, but this second book is a romance between 2 women. So it's a sapphic historical fantasy romance, and it's really fun. It has a bit of a heist quality. Everyone has really good banter and chemistry in this book, so this one might be fun to do a bookish blind date with. I feel like it's especially fun for books that have a bit of a romance in them to kind of fit with the theme, but obviously they don't have to be a romance. It's just cute. Speaking of romance, I have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is the only Emily Henry of the three I've read that I've liked. So I thought I would get the one that I enjoyed to share with my neighborhood. Of course, also if someone is perusing my little free library, they probably love books too. So hopefully this will appeal to them. Again, this is adult romance. It's a fun one. It's cute. Then some more YA romance. I have Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Similarly to Emily Henry, this is the only one of the three Ali Hazelwood I've read that I've enjoyed. I didn't enjoy this as much as Book Lovers, but I did like it well enough. It's YA, the female protagonist is bisexual, and it takes place in the world of chess, which adds a really fun element to it. So I also grabbed Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I've not read this series. I did read Six of Crows, which I think is tangentially connected to this series. Six of Crows wasn't really my cup of tea, so I didn't read on in the series, and I didn't try this series, but I know this one was made into a Netflix show, which I also haven't seen, but seems like it was popular and well received. So I thought it might be fun, and there might be some teenagers out there who saw the show who might want to read the book it was based on. So this might also be fun to do a book date for, because I can have hints about it being turned into a hit Netflix series, maybe. Then I have some more kids books. So I have kind of a range of ages. I already showed quite a few middle grade, but I have some younger kids books and like baby books. So I got this Hello World, a high contrast book for babies. My little baby nephew has a couple of these high contrast books, and I read them to him while I was visiting in September. So I got one of these to put in my little free library in case anyone in the area has a newborn somewhere in their life. And then I got the ABCs of Kindness, which just seemed absolutely adorable, with different animals that can be, you know, pointed out and explained to little babies. And then I have some books that are getting into a slightly older demographic, but not quite ready for chapter books or middle grade books. So I have a couple Reading with Phonics books, Goldilocks and the Three Bears and Jack and the Beanstalk, and they focus on different key sounds that kids are learning. So I thought these might be nice for kids who are learning to read and, you know, very much not ready to read on their own yet, but transitioning away from just being read to by their parents. So I thought these would be really fun and hopefully actually useful for any kids who are learning to read in the neighborhood. And then I think this is the last kids book I got. This one is Libby Loves Science. I think this one was also recommended by one of my Instagram followers. I asked in my stories back when I was buying these for suggestions, especially for kids books, because I'm not a kid and do not have a child. So we're getting close to the end, I promise. I did not buy 500 books. I did buy a lot though, I know. Okay, then I got Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is a YA fantasy with a little bit of a darker, almost horror vibe to it. I have a copy of this on my shelf back here. I absolutely loved it, so I think this would appeal to teenagers and adults. I noticed it and just had to grab a copy because I feel like somebody is going to love this as much as I did, with the dark academia vibes and the sort of spooky, eerie vibes and some really interesting magic and world building and a really awesome main character. And then I also got Divine Rivals, which is a YA historical fantasy romance. This is another one that I personally really loved, so I think it could work for teens or adults. I really liked this, so when I saw it available, I thought I would grab this because somebody's going to love it. Okay, and the last two, I got both Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, because as much as I was not a fan of Fourth Wing and do not currently have any plans to read Iron Flame, this duology has appealed to so many people. I know so many people who loved these books and just had a great time. So I'm sure that these are going to appeal to a lot of people in my community, and they'll be really excited to get to read these if they haven't yet. And that's it. Those are all the books I got. I know it's a lot. Like I said, it was a very good sale. Also, obviously, by the time you're watching this, I will have already done this, so you can't necessarily give your advice on which ones I should turn into bookish blind dates and which ones should just be in my little free library. But if you have ideas about that, or if you just have more suggestions for diverse books for all ages that I could keep an eye out for to maybe get on sale to put in my little free library, let me know in the comments, because I'm always looking for more, especially for YA, middle grade, and younger kids. I just don't read them, so I'm not aware of what's coming out and what kids are excited about and what's popular. So help me out in the comments if you have suggestions. But yeah, I think it's time to start wrapping some books. Let's go. I'm so excited. So the first thing I had to do for all the books was use my little free library embosser, just to indicate that the books are coming from a little free library and hopefully to deter anyone from trying to sell the books since they're meant to be always free, never for sale. So I usually just pick a page near the front, usually the title page or something, maybe the copyright page, and use my embosser. I have found that it works better if I emboss at least 2 pages at once, just because depending on the thickness of the pages, if I only do 1 page at a time, it sometimes can kind of rip through the page in a couple little spots. So I find when I do it on 2 pages at a time, it comes out really clear and you can read everything, but it doesn't rip the page. I had mine sort of customized from a shop on Etsy. I'll link that down below in the description box if you want to get your own. You can customize one to use for your own books at home. I actually do want to get a second one so I can emboss my own library, but obviously this one is for the Little Free Library. Then once I'd embossed all the books, I decided to add in my special Little Free Library add-ons. I just add these for fun and because I'm extra and because I think they're cute. You know, why not? Life is short. I've been doing this since we first built the Little Free Library, and I only do it for the books that I personally put into the Little Free Library, whether they're books from my own collection or books that I purchased to put in the Little Free Library. I don't do this for all the books that are donated to my Little Free Library. It just would take too much time. I don't think I'd be able to keep up with it. So I stick the little library card sleeve either on the inner cover or on the first page. And then on the little library card, I just write Little Free Library at the top with the charter number of my specific Little Free Library so people know where it came from, and then the author's name and the title. And then I also made these little custom stickers to put on the library card sleeve itself, which are the same stickers I designed in that first video. I'll link my other Little Free Library videos down below if you want more details, but these stickers just have some basic information. So title, author, age range, genre, feeling or tone, and content warnings. For books that I haven't personally read, I rely on Storygraph to get a lot of this information, especially the feeling and the content warnings. Storygraph is amazing for that, highly recommend. For books that I've read myself, I have enough notes in my reading tracker on Notion that I can just rely on that to fill out all the information. I used to have more text at the bottom of the sticker. I ended up making this a separate little sticker, so I had a bit more space for content warnings for the books that need it, and so I had some space to write my own little personal note or recommendation, which I like to do for books that I've read myself in a different color pen. And I was really running out of space when I had some extra text in that lower corner. And once I'd finished that for all the books, it was time to wrap some for the blind date with a book. And I was so excited. And it's so funny because I didn't realize this was such a common thing. I thought I was really clever coming up with this brand new, never before heard of idea. Turns out blind date with a book is very popular and lots of people are doing it. And when I looked it up on Pinterest to see if anyone else had done it and I could get some inspiration, I came across a lot of people doing this very specific wrapping technique for their books, specifically for blind dates with a book. And I thought it was adorable. So I decided to wrap my books this way. It also made it easy to add some extra goodies in with the book for whoever picks it up. This was my first attempt at doing this wrapping style, so I struggled a little bit. I was figuring it out. It takes a little bit of coordination. I'll try to explain how to do it, even though I feel like I'm terrible at explaining things. So basically you want to cut out a piece of your wrapping paper that's big enough to cover the whole book and start by folding down at least halfway from the top. Then you want to turn everything upside down and pinch in the sides at the top. So you create 2 separate diagonal pieces, and you want to fold the top one in first and tape it down, and do the same on the other side. And then take the second one, which should be a little bit lower down, and fold that one in and tape it down on both sides. You should end up with this overlapping V chevron pattern, and these make little pockets that you can slide things in. I decided to use a sticker to cover up the tape on the front just to make it look a little prettier. And then for each blind date with a book, I added in a bonus sticker that they can use however they like, a little magnetic bookmark, some tabs, and a plain bookmark that they can decorate however they like. And you might notice that I tried to color coordinate everything. I tried to loosely match either the cover or the vibe of the book so that everything would be cute and matching and adorable. The final touch here is to add some information so people can get a hint as to whether this book would be their cup of tea. So I'm just using some string here, tying it horizontally around my little package, and some tags. So starting with one that's going to just say blind date with a book on it so they know what's going on. And then on the second tag, I'm writing some information. So I decided to keep it pretty simple, to add the genre, the age demographic, and then a short description, either a couple words or a sentence or something very brief that could hopefully give a reader an idea of whether the book would be of interest to them or not. So in this case, Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute is contemporary romance, it's young adult, and I described it as funny, wholesome, and adorable. And then I just attached these tags to the string. Part of the reason why I'm using the string and these tags is to make it look a little bit more like a wrapped present for the holiday season, but also so that I can not only have the string coming around horizontally, but also vertically, which will help to just keep all the extra goodies inside, because I'm not going to be able to store these in the little free library vertically, and I don't want anything to fall out, especially when people are handling them standing outside in the snow. So adding the string really allows me to kind of secure everything a little bit more in the package. And I think it just looks cute, which is apparently what drives almost everything I do in my little free library. And there you have it. That is what these look like. Again, I thought I was an absolute genius, first to have ever thought of this idea. Turns out it is super popular, very common, and you've all probably heard of it before, but I am still excited. It's new to me, and hopefully it'll also be new and exciting to people in my neighborhood who enjoy using the little free library, and they'll get a fun little surprise of a mystery book they can enjoy over the holidays. What could be better? I decided to show myself wrapping another one just so you could see another example if you're trying to follow along. Again, starting by folding the wrapping down at least halfway, pinching in the side, so sort of pressing in. You can see better on the second side how I pinch in, press in, and flatten it against the side of the book, and then fold in that first triangle and tape it down, and do the same on the second side, and then fold in the second triangle and tape it down on both sides. You can kind of play around with how tight you do this and what angle you use. I also found as I did this more that everything was a little easier if I had a little more height to my wrapping paper, so I could cover more of the book on that first fold. So I would recommend doing that. I feel like it's a little easier if your paper covers at least half to 3/4 of the front of the book. You just have a little more room to play with. For book lovers, this is adult romance, and obviously the cover is blue, so I decided to go with a cool toned blue theme. I picked out the TBR tarot sticker, which felt very apt. Blue tabs, a sort of grayish blue magnetic bookmark, a sticker that says emotionally attached to fictional characters, which feels very appropriate for a romance. And then a bookmark with a blue tassel. And then the last step was just to add the labels here again, blind date with a book. And then for book lovers, it's contemporary romance for adults. As for the description, I went back and forth. I had a couple different ideas, but I ended up deciding I wanted to try to represent the personality types and sort of the vibe between the main characters. So I ended up writing badass female main character and grumpy male main character, and just attach those in the same way. I ended up making 2 more blind dates with a book. This one is She is a Haunting, so YA horror. I decided to go with more of a moody, dark red and sort of blue and gray to again try to emulate the colors on the cover. And I described it as a unique haunted house story, eerie, tense, and thought-provoking. And then I also decided to do a restless truth. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough yellow or teal to really match the cover, so I decided to go for purple instead because I seem to have a lot of purple things on hand. So my description here was sweet and steamy WLW romance with magic. And now it's time for the final little goodies I'm putting together for the little free library, the annotation kits, which I am so excited for. So for every annotation kit, I'm starting with a clear pencil case so people can see what's inside without having to open it up. And then every annotation kit is going to come stocked with my favorite supplies. So some tabs, clear sticky notes, my favorite pen for annotating, the fine tip Sharpies I use for writing on clear sticky notes, a regular highlighter, an erasable highlighter, and a Sharpie that can be used as a highlighter, again, on the clear sticky notes, some regular sticky notes to make a key or just add in bonus notes, a pencil, a couple stickers, a plain bookmark with a little matching tassel. Of course, everything is color coordinated yet again. I don't think anyone is surprised. And the final touch here, I made a tiny basics of annotation guide for anyone who's new to annotation, if they don't know what it is, if they've never tried it before. I have sort of the 3 basic steps, some quick tips, and then I added a QR code that links to my annotation video so they can watch it and learn more if they like. I sort of felt hesitant about linking my own video, but I put so much work into that and I get so much positive feedback that it was helpful for people that I decided to just do it anyway. Hopefully it's helpful to anyone who is wanting to learn more about annotation. All kinds of stuff that I ended up feeling was just too much information to include in the little pencil case itself. So that was my compromise. And I ended up adding little craft tags to these as well that say "Take me home" on one side and "Happy Holidays" on the other side. And these are the 5 annotation kits I started off with. Again, all color coordinated, but I do have more supplies on hand. So again, once these are gone, I can make some more. And now, unfortunately for me, it's time to do the cold part, which is restocking the little free library. This is what it looked like before I did the restock. You can see it's being used, completely full with books. There are 2 layers of books on the bottom shelf, but also, as you might be able to see, it's basically filled exclusively with adult backlist, which there's nothing wrong with that. Adults use the little free library, but I also see a lot of teenagers and kids using it. So again, this is why it's so important to me when I'm restocking it or buying books for the little free library to try to get a wide range of ages so I can provide books for everyone who wants to use the little free library, because the donations I get are almost exclusively adult backlist, which again is totally fine. I'm very grateful for all the donations and the number of books people leave in the little free library, but I just want to provide books for everyone, you know? And now is the exciting part, restocking it. Starting with the bookish blind dates, I decided to just stack them to try to keep everything secure and just have one leaning against that pile in the front so that when people are looking in with the door closed, they can see that there's something exciting in there and kind of get an idea. And then I slid the annotation kits in next to the bookish blind dates on that top shelf. And my initial plan was just to put all of my unwrapped books on the bottom shelf in order of age demographic, chronologically from baby all the way through to adult. But I ended up feeling like there was a bit of wasted space on the top shelf because the annotation kits didn't really take up their whole half of that shelf. So I ended up moving the smallest baby books up to the top shelf, since a baby or a very young child who's just learning to read are not going to be coming to the little free library on their own, so their parents will be able to reach the top shelf and pull those out. But that just uses up a little bit more of the space and allowed me to put in both Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. Someone is going to be very excited to come across this duology, I'm sure. And there you have it. There is my totally restocked little free library for the holidays. I just love it so much. I know it's a lot of effort. I'm sure some people think, what in the world is this woman doing? This is so excessive and extra. And I know it is, but it brings me joy. And like I said, I'm just so grateful to how respectful and awesome my neighborhood has been and how much they love the little free library and how much they use it. And I really want to show my appreciation back. I would love to hear your suggestions if you have ideas for other fun goodies I could put in the little free library, some fun games like the blind date with a book that I could try. If you have suggestions or feedback on the annotation kits or the blind dates with a book, let me know. Also, if you have suggestions for books I should get for my little free library, especially young adult and younger, leave those down below so I can have a list on hand for any time I come across a good book sale. And finally, I want you to let me know what you're reading over the holidays, whether it's one book or several. What do you have on your TBR for the next couple weeks? What are you reading? I want to know. I have quite the ambitious TBR for the next couple weeks that I'm sure I won't get through, but I'm very excited. My favorite time of year to read is over the holidays when I can get cozy under a blanket with a cup of tea and some cats nearby and just enjoy the soft glow of the lights on the Christmas tree and eat clementines and read all day long in my pajamas. It's the best. So thank you for hanging out with me. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. I hope you and your loved ones are safe and happy and cozy wherever you are. And thank you again to Magic Mind for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to click the link in my description box and use code PBB20 to get 48% off your first subscription for the next 10 days or 20% off for a one-time purchase. My husband just realized we had Magic Mind in the fridge and he got so excited. Like absolutely giddy. It was adorable. I do have a few more videos coming out over the holiday season, so watch out for those, including my brand new reading journal setup for 2025. Those are in the works, but for now, I'm gonna get going. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you really soon in my next one. Bye, friends. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, "Are you married?" We'll say, "No, man, but you can do the job while you're in town." Later on we'll conspire as we dream by the fire. to face unafraid the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland. Happy holidays!